Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today we're going to be getting into another edition in my author rating and ranking series where I pick one author, read their entire backlist, everything they've ever written. I rate and review every single book, tell you about it in one video, and I rank their entire backlist at the end so you know exactly where to start with whatever author you would like to read from. I've done most popular thriller authors at this point. I will link my playlist up above and down below. A lot of these videos I need to do an update on. I will get comments all the time like,
why didn't you do these books that were released in 2022, 2023, and 2024?
And I'm like, y'all, the video came out in 2020. So give me a moment. I'm going to be refilming some of those videos soon with updated thoughts, but I do have my own backlist of backlist rating and ranking videos if you're interested. Today's author is going to be Lucinda Berry. I absolutely love Lucinda Berry. She is a psychologist, or at one point she was a practicing psychologist, and I love her perspective on trauma and mental health. She weaves it through her psychological thrillers so well, and I'm going to tell you about all 15 books that I've read from her, as well as how I would rank them for you guys. But before we get into the video, I have a brand new box of Magic Mind shots right here. Cannot wait to share them with you guys. Let me take one. If you've never heard me talk about Magic Mind, they're these cutie little green juice shots that give you everything you need to have a productive and energized day. They're so good. They're literally just like green juice, matcha vibes. So easy, so quick. I like to take mine as a shot, but I've also put them into matcha lattes, smoothies, overnight oats, all the things. They're so versatile. And you guys, these little shots really work. I love the boost in energy and productivity that they give me. I feel like my focus narrows and I'm not as distractible. And the energy that I get from the matcha and the other amazing ingredients in Magic Mind is not the jittery feeling of caffeine that I get from coffee. It's more of a calm and focused energy, which makes a lot of sense because there are also ingredients in Magic Mind that support stress relief and boost your immunity, which we love to see. With ingredients like L-theanine and B vitamins, ashwagandha, chlorophyll, and lion's mane, Magic Mind shots will not only boost your energy and focus, but also help you stay calm and less stressed while you're being productive throughout the day. So if you want to check out Magic Mind for yourself, they're having an amazing Black Friday deal right now. You can get 50% off, and they're running this sale until the 6th of December. Just use my link down below. It is magicmind.com/HaileyHBF for Black Friday. I highly recommend it for yourself if you are a busy working professional, or to gift someone who has everything, maybe a really busy productive person in your life. It just helps support them in this way by gifting them Magic Mind and get some money off while you do. Check out that link down below, and thank you so much to Magic Mind for sponsoring this video. Now let's go ahead and get into the ranking. As I go through Lucinda Berry's backlist, I will go in publication order. So I will start with her first book published in 2016 and work my way up to her 2024 releases. It looks like she has published 2 books a year, with the exception of just a couple years since 2016. So she's almost been publishing for a decade, and most of these books are complete hits. Honestly, Lucinda Berry does not miss much for me. Like I mentioned at the top of the video, her history in psychology and mental health contributed to her really high level of knowledge and representation when she writes things that include elements of mental health like psychological horror, and she writes amazing trauma representation. I love the way that she crafts her characters with a very empathetic and human lens, even when her characters are deeply flawed or objectively just horrible, you feel for them. And I think that is a really powerful device to use when you're developing a character, especially in a thriller where they might do something wrong, but we still kind of want to be on their side. It puts the reader almost in this place of being in a moral dilemma, even though these people and scenarios are not real. It helps you confront certain biases and things about yourself, which I think is such an interesting tool of psychological thrill and horror. So that's kind of like a brief overview of Lucinda Berry's style. Now let's get into her backlist, starting with her first book published in 2016, which is Missing Parts. Missing Parts is following this young family. They are this perfect upper middle class, well-to-do white family, but tragedy strikes when something happens to the daughter, and the mother really blames herself. She completely goes off the rails after this tragedy strikes with her daughter, and we see her descent into madness. It's really about seeing how easy it is for someone who stereotypically has it all to fall from grace and give in to this mental health break that she undergoes. Her life completely changes, and it's a really character-driven book. I don't even know that I would call it a thriller. I would call it more like a psychological drama about how she copes with this. There's a lot of huge bombs and reveals and twists at the end. It's drama and it's engrossing at the same time. It's really visceral and real. And I think Lucinda strikes that balance really well often. In the case of Missing Parts, I thought it was really well done, but I did feel like I was left hanging a little bit at the end. I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It didn't give me that perfect 5-star feeling, but I really enjoyed it and I highly recommend it. She also published another book in 2016 called Phantom Limb. This was actually one of my Pretty Girl book club picks, and a lot of people in the book club really enjoyed this one. This is about a set of twins, and they were raised in a really horrible, abusive situation. They both had extremely opposite reactions to this trauma, and then something occurs. And I'm not going to give away what this is. I believe this is given away in the synopsis, but I don't care. I don't think you should have this information going into reading it to have the best reading experience. Basically, another traumatic event happens in present day, and we are going through trying to put together the pieces of what happened to these girls growing up and how it contributed to what happened in present day. I should mention that with a lot of Lucinda Berry's books, because of the content, they are really, really dark and really, really intense. A lot of them also feature content about sexual abuse. So please make sure that you look up trigger warnings before engaging with any of Lucinda's books. I think the lens that she views everything from is one of such empathy and reverence. She does it with such amazing grace, but that doesn't mean that even if someone handles it well, that it will be safe for you to read. So really do some research and some thinking and make sure that you're in a good place to read this stuff before you do, because there's a lot of sexual assault content specifically in Phantom Limb, and we see how this affects the two sisters in very, very different ways. One of them becomes very, very acting out, suicidal, promiscuous, over-the-top, reckless behavior, and the other one kind of goes internal, becomes very, very dissociative and depressed, kind of like that acting in. And I'm using the terms acting out and acting in because that's where my brain goes as a therapist. If you work in mental health, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's just very clear the way that Lucinda writes this stuff that her mental health background shines through. There's not really a structured plot to Phantom Limb. We're just kind of seeing what happens with these girls, and there are wild, absolutely crazy twists. It's like, I want to say they're out of left field, but they really, really do make sense in the context of the story. They're just intense and will definitely catch you by surprise. I do think that the book was pretty serious and intense through the majority of it, and then it kind of took like a weird turn at the end where it went less serious, treated with reverence, and more like, ooh, just for the shocks and thrills, because it is a thriller book. And that was just kind of like an odd shift for me, so I did dock it a star and give it 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed both what happened before the weird turn and what happened after, but it was kind of jarring having them both together, if that makes sense. Moving on to 2017, Lucinda came out with Saving Noah, which is an incredible book. I think this should be required reading for everyone. One of the biggest challenges for me going to get my master's in mental health counseling was a lot of people have questions about their own bias. Like, you cannot escape your own bias. We all have it. And we had this exercise that we did in one of my classes where people anonymously wrote down things that would make it hard for them to bracket their bias from entering a session. And something that I think almost everyone in the room wrote down was working with a perpetrator of sexual violence, specifically pedophilia. And if you aren't aware, pedophilic disorder is in the DSM. It is a paraphilia. It's a very valid disorder that vexes many, many people. And acting on those urges and feelings is obviously disgusting. Please don't go in my comments and tell me how disgusting it is. Trust me, I was sexually abused as a child. I understand how disgusting that behavior is, but I'm also a nuanced person and a mental health professional, and I'm capable of feeling empathy for people who do not act on those urges and are just vexed by the thoughts and feelings that are uncontrollable. And the really hard thing about this is that most people who are vexed by those thoughts, not that act on them, but that are vexed by pedophilic disorder, have undergone some kind of abuse themselves. So I think that's something important to consider. And I'm giving you this background information on sexual abuse because in Saving Noah, we are following a 17-year-old boy who starts to show signs of pedophilic disorder. And we see how it deeply impacts his community, his mother specifically, and really everyone around him. We gain a lot of empathy, but also obviously it's disgust and horror as well as we see this family and this boy and this mother just coming apart at the seams. It is so viscerally emotional, but I really think it's perfectly written. It strikes that balance between disgust and empathy and forgiveness so well, which is kind of like the experience of being a survivor, at least for me. And please don't invalidate me in the comments because I'm really sharing my vulnerable experience here. So if you don't like Saving Noah, and I know there are people out there that really don't, that is completely, totally valid and fine. But for me, speaking as a mental health professional and as a survivor myself, this is a pretty perfect book. Also in 2017, Lucinda Berry published Appetite for Innocence. This is a kidnapping thriller about 3 girls who are recovered from being held in this man's house. It's basically the typical setup, something like The Cellar by Natasha Preston or Room or something like that. It's very like, if you like a serial killer kidnapping story, you're going to be engrossed with this one. And again, it goes through like the different various reactions that the girls have to being kidnapped and held, and especially being recovered. Goes into one girl who has more like the Stockholm syndrome type of reaction, another girl who's just dissociated, traumatized down. It's more than just a kidnapping story. Like, obviously there is the intense, horrifying kidnapping plot, but we also get the mental health lens, which I really appreciated. I thought it was really well done, but again, the ending left a little tiny bit to be desired. I wish there was like one final clincher at the end, but there just wasn't for me, so I ended up giving it 4 stars, even though I thought it was great. It didn't give me that 5-star feeling that Saving Noah did. We had nothing from Lucinda Berry in 2018, but in 2019, she came out with The Perfect Child. Oh my god, this is one of my favorites. I love The Perfect Child. It's about this couple who is struggling to get pregnant. They dream of having a child and it's just not working out. The husband is a doctor and he ends up seeing this abused child, abandoned, orphaned patient at the hospital, and he's like, you know what? This is kismet. Let me take her in. And this girl is a perfect little angel to the father, but to the mother, she's sinister. And she does it all behind closed doors. So the dad is like, I don't know what my crazy wife is saying, that this daughter of ours is a devil child. She's just this poor abused little girl in the hospital and she's so sweet. And the mom is sitting there losing her marbles. It's a classic case of the man gaslighting the woman, not believing her. There's this devilish, creepy little girl, and she is so fun to read from, although she is deeply horrifying. This book was so much fun, so visceral, so horrifying, and also had that great commentary in there. I would say this one is less commentary dense than her other books that are more focused on mental health. This one has a mental health lens. Of course, there's a social worker character in the book, but also it's a creepy kid. You know, it's fun to follow a creepy kid and all the weird, wacky things she's gonna do to torment this mother. I gave it 5 stars. This was my first ever book club pick for the Pretty Girl Book Club, and so many of us loved it so much. I don't think there was anyone that didn't like this one. Also in 2019, she came out with When She Returned, which is a cult book. This is about a woman who was sucked into a cult and then she returns. She goes back to her family and we see how much it changed her. A thriller plot unfolds from there. There are some twists, which I ended up predicting. I was pretty bored and kind of like didn't feel the usual emotional connection that I feel to Lucinda Berry's thrillers when I was reading When She Returned. It didn't hit for me in the way that her other books did. I ended up giving it 2 stars. This was like my first flop from her, really. In 2020, she published The Best of Friends. This is the first foray that we see of Lucinda Berry getting into like suburban thriller rich people drama, which I love so much. I love that she pairs this like vapid drama, scandalous thriller that I love with this intensely real mental health rep. It is the perfect combination to me. And in The Best of Friends, we're following these 3 women and their sons are all friends, just like they're all best friends. The boys end up having a sleepover where something goes horribly, horribly wrong. And they're reeling afterwards and they don't know who to blame, and drama ensues and secrets and lies are brought out from the neighborhood and the community. They're all at each other's throats. It is suburban drama, but make it like real life feeling. It's so good. I gave it 4 stars. It didn't have the same level of emotional intensity as some of her previous work, but it's a very well written twisty thriller. In 2021, she had an Audible short come out. I don't believe that this is published as a like written book, but I listened to the Audible version of One Little Mistake, which is basically about infidelity in marriage, what leads to it, what happens from it. It's very like scandalous drama, and it didn't have a lot of emotional intensity to it. Again, like The Best of Friends, this is very much like Lucinda Berry in her scandalous drama-filled rich people thriller era. This one was so short, I couldn't get a ton out of it, but I did enjoy it while I was listening to it. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Also in 2021, she published The Secrets of Us, which is about some sisters, foster sisters, adopted sisters. I don't remember the exact familial situation there, but they're not sisters by blood, who were raised in this creepy foster home, like on a farm, and something really traumatic happened, and they're all trying to put together the pieces of what happened all those years ago because it has implications for the present. Honestly, this is probably the one of her books that I remember the least about. It's definitely the most forgettable. It just kind of feels generic, but I did enjoy my experience while I was reading it. It wasn't like over the top amazing, life-changing, but it was good. I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. If you like dual timeline, past and present, and secrets and lies coming back to haunt you, very typical thriller setup, I think you'll like that one. In 2022, we got Under Her Care, which follows a Southern beauty queen, okay? And she is just this perfect all-around woman, but she has a very weird relationship with her child who has special needs. Her child has autism. I can't remember if it's diagnosed or not. Lucinda Berry goes into a lot of commentary about an ASD diagnosis, which I really appreciated. And we're also following the perspective of an autism expert expert who suspects that there's more to this weird relationship that our main character has with her child, and maybe there is some abuse going on. There's also a death that happens, and both our main character and the son are kind of under suspicion for murdering this person. They both have motive, but obviously one is much more vulnerable than the other. So we get our expert's perspective, basically putting the pieces together, and we are trying to figure out who did it and what the situation is between this mother and son. I thought this one was really entertaining, really interesting. That ending twist was great. The killer reveal was great, but it felt a little tangential. Like, we didn't have the flow in the perspectives that we had in, like, when we're following other people from the same community. It was a little bit stilted, like jumping from the world of our main character, this vapid beauty queen, to this like very regimented autism expert. So that was a little jarring. I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Again, enjoyed it. It just didn't stack up to a lot of the other ones that I've read from her. Then in 2023, last year, we had so many releases from Miss Lucinda Berry. First, we got A Welcome Reunion, which is actually the novella follow-up to The Perfect Child. I was so much anticipating this book. I was so excited for it. Like, I love The Perfect Child so much. And we follow the child from the first book as she is all grown up. We see kind of where her path has led her, where her parents stand, what their relationship is like, basically getting the closure that a lot of people were asking for, since there is a little bit of openness at the ending of The Perfect Child. I really enjoyed seeing where things went, but a few things didn't go exactly as I imagined them to be in my head with the open ending, which is kind of like the rock and hard place that you have when you put a sequel out to something that had a more ambiguous ending. I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Enjoyed it, but there were just a couple things. We also got Off the Deep End, which is about a woman who is driving home her son and his friend. They end up getting in a pretty bad car crash. Their car goes into a ravine. She thinks that she is saving her son as she's pulling him out of the ravine, and when she gets to the surface, she realizes that she accidentally saved the son's friend and ended up leaving her son in the car to drown. We follow the weird relationship that unfolds between this mother and her son's friend as they survived this traumatic event together. So you expect them to be trauma bonded in some way, but not the exact way that they are. And this story takes a lot of weird turns. It felt like Lucinda Berry was just trying to throw everything at the wall in this one, where usually she has some really intentional representation. We did not get that, in my opinion, in Off the Deep End. It was a little jarring. I didn't love it. I gave it 2 stars. And the last release that we got from her in 2023 was Keep Your Friends Close. And I love this book so much. Oh my god, I love this book. This book is so great. If you like shocking twists, this one's for you. The twists at the end of this book are incredible. Okay, this is rich people drama. We are following the WeHo moms, okay, the moms of West Hollywood, and they're all getting together for this party. And one of them, by the end of the evening, ends up dead in the pool. So we are trying to figure out what happened to this woman. Why is this rich mom dead in a pool at a party? We go through all the suspects, we uncover their secrets and lies, all of the juicy drama that goes on in this West Hollywood neighborhood in order to figure out how this woman ended up dead. And the twists at the end are crazy. They're crazy. I loved them. I love the way they unfolded. It was so dark. It was also kind of like funny, because rich people drama is always a little bit funny to me. I just thought it was so good. I gave this 4 stars at the time. I feel like I kind of want to raise it to a 4.5 or a 5. I don't remember the reasons why I kept it at a 4. Like, I really like this book. It's perfect for summer. It has those like fun Hollywood vibes. Highly recommend it. And then this year in 2024, we got 2 releases from Lucinda Berry. We got One of Our Own, which is, again, I believe it's audio only, but it's not an Audible original. I believe one little mistake was an Audible original, so you can only listen to it on Audible. This one, One of Our Own, I listened to on Libro FM, which always prefer Libro to Audible. Audible is Amazon and Goodreads, and it fucking sucks. I love Libro FM. You can choose your local indie bookstore to support through Libro FM. Libro FM provides amazing ARC copies to influencers. They sponsored part of the Texas Book Festival, which was really great, and provided audiobooks for them. They're great. Okay, this is not even sponsored. I just love Libro FM. And that's where I listen to One of Our Own, which has a very, very similar commentary and plot structure to Saving Noah, where we are following a suicide hotline operator, and she picks up the phone and is talking to this girl who's extremely suicidal. She's a young girl, and she's telling this operator the reasons why she's considering taking her own life. So the woman starts to realize that her son might have played a part in why this girl wants to take her own life, which is obviously really difficult, really nuanced. We experience the whole range of emotions with them. I felt so connected to these characters. The trauma rep felt so viscerally real. Please look up trigger warnings for this one. It is intense, especially with the audio. The actors are amazing. The production quality on this, the sound effects and everything. This is one of my favorite audiobooks I've ever listened to. It was intense all the way through, but it wasn't quite as good as Saving Noah. I ended up giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then lastly, this year we have Lucinda Berry's most recent release, which is If You Tell a Lie. This is another dual timeline thriller where we're following these vapid little teenage girls at a summer camp when they got into some shit. And now in present day, they're grown women and they get this correspondence that basically tells them, I know what you did that summer at camp. We are trying to figure out what they did then and how it's coming back to haunt them. I love summer camp settings, so I was really excited for this book, but unfortunately it didn't work out the way that I liked. It took some weird turns throughout. I think there were some really odd choices made with the characters, although there was some really well done trauma representation in this book and really well done eating disorder representation in this book. I don't think that the choices for the characters made sense. It, like I said, took weird turns, and a few of the characters I had a very difficult time telling them apart. And when you're following a plethora of white women, you really have to make them their own people in order to follow the structure of the story. So those were the issues that I had, and I ended up giving it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. It was just average for me. So that is the full rundown of every single book in Lucinda Berry's backlist, all 15 of them. Now I will go ahead and rank them for you. This is just my personal ranking. I don't know if you should read them in this order or, you know, not read the lower ranked ones and only read the high ranked ones. You got to figure out what you like based on my descriptions that I just gave you, but this is my personal ranking. Coming in last at number 15, I have Off the Deep End. This is by far the least favorite for me of all of Lucinda Berry's books. I just feel like it wasn't handled with the same intention and empathy that I really enjoy from her usually. Next up in spot 14, I have When She Returned. This was the first flop for me. I don't like cult books. I didn't feel connected to the characters. At number 13, I have If You Tell a Lie, which I just spoke about. I had a few issues to it. At number 12, I had One Little Mistake. There was nothing egregious about this book. It just didn't have the depth. Then above that, at number 11, I have The Secrets of Us. At number 10, I have the sequel to A Perfect Child, which is A Welcome Reunion. At number 9, I have Under Her Care. Above that, in number 8, I have Phantom Limb. And now we've gotten into my 4 stars. So Phantom Limb and everything beyond here is rated 4 stars and above, which are kind of like my stamp of approval for a solid recommendation for any thriller lover. In spot number 7, I have The Best of Friends. At number 6, I have Appetite for Innocence. At number 5, I have Keep Your Friends Close. At number 4, I have Missing Parts. And then with the bronze medal, I have One of Our Own, Number 3, my favorite audiobook of the year. I'm doing a video for Happy Hailey Days that is my favorite audiobooks of the year, and this is on there. In second place with the silver, I have The Perfect Child. Oh my god, this was one of my first books that I read from her, and it had me hooked. I love it so much. It's still one of my favorites. And of course, in the top spot, one of my favorite books of all time is Saving Noah. So that is my definitive ranking of all of Lucinda Berry's books. I really, really love her. I think she's incredible. I always eat up her books, even if they're not like perfect for me. I still enjoy reading them. I hope you guys do too, and this was a helpful video to get to know her backlist. Thank you so, so, so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to go down below and check out Magic Mind. You can get their 50% off Black Friday deal until December 6th. And also, don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week. I will see you guys in my next video tomorrow. Bye!